Hey everybody, welcome back to Tavian's World of Reptiles. I hope you are all doing well and taking care of yourselves. So I had not planned on making a second video today, but I was looking through the YouTube studio thing and I was looking at my older videos and realized that today, what is the 12th? The 12th, November 12th, is the 1 year anniversary, I guess, of my very first video posted. 1 year ago today, I posted my very first video, and it was about I believe somebody was being bashed in the community, and then I had another friend who had reached out to me and was uncomfortable reaching out into those communities because of the bashing that happens. And so I guess I went on a little bit of a rant, talking about how we should have a little bit more respect and actually have more education in our community and less hate. And so today's video, I wanted to, in honor of that 1 year video, I wanted to, expand a little bit more on that and not necessarily go into all that I said already in that video, but more talking about how we can avoid being the ones that are bashing, and and how we can actually help people who come out us in these communities and like on Facebook or whatever, and we see that they need help with what they're doing, or maybe they've done something that's maybe not necessarily appropriate for that animal, and how we can actually help those individuals. And I've got one main thing to say about how we can do that. But before I get to that, I think it's important for us to remember that just things happen. Okay, they just do. Impulse buys happen, and nobody just decides to just be impulsively buy an animal, but it happens. You might think, oh, there's something called this expo, a reptile expo in my town. I've never been to one of those, but I'm gonna go check it out. And you go and you seeing all these really cool animals, something you've never seen before, and you find that one thing that you just like fall in love with, and you decide, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it. I'm getting it, and then you get the animal, and you might ask, what's the general care of this animal to the people at whatever booth you go to, and they'll give you a general off the bat, out of the mouth, just like run-of-the-mill care sheet, basic bit of information on how to care for this animal, and then they walk away with that information, and they do that information that was given to them. Or maybe they're at a pet store. We all know how pet stores are like. We get an animal and they give you this care sheet, and there you go. That's what the information that people think that they need. And then they get home and they realize that, oh, maybe there's a little bit more that goes into this animal than I'm getting on this care sheet. And so then they land up in these social media settings where they end up getting bashed for not quite doing their research. But and that being said, that is another thing to consider, is to keep in mind, is that sometimes even when we do a impulsive buy and we try to do research, sometimes the information that we're getting from those people is not necessarily the truth. Now, yes, it is important. It is so very important for people to always find multiple sources when doing their research. And even that can be sometimes a little difficult to manage. Like, you might get online and there's all these different sites to go to about this animal that you're thinking about getting, and you might click on a few and take a little bit of information from those and go with it. But those might not have been reputable sources, and then here you are doing what you think is appropriate for the animal, only to find out that you're making some mistakes here and there. So it's important to remember that sometimes finding doing proper research isn't as always as easy as it seems to somebody who's really new to the hobby. And impulse buys happen. So, and I'm just mentioning those two because those are like the biggest things that you see people getting ripped apart about, is like getting this animal impulsively, and then really not doing research, or doing enough research, or then maybe doing inappropriate research and using just a few resources to take care of this animal, and people they rip into them about it. And so, that being said, that's the one big thing that I actually really want to touch on, because I think that is the biggest way that we can help people in those moments, and not bashing them, not telling them how terrible they are, not telling them how, ignorant they are, that they don't have any information about the animal. I think they know that they're asking for help now. They know that somewhere along the way they've messed up. Now, I know that also it can be complicated when there are those people who are like, I don't really want to hear what you have to say. I know I'm doing things right. You're wrong, blah 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 blah. Like, those are stubborn people. It can make it really frustrating, and it can start affecting the way we actually interact with others who are coming for help. So just try to keep in mind that everybody is different, the circumstances are different, and try to approach everybody with this whole mindset of educating, and how we can go about educating them. And the biggest way I think we can do the biggest thing I think we can do to help people in this moment is to educate them, and not just spit out information about that animal. Yes, we can sit there all day long and saying, okay, here's the things that's wrong with your enclosure. Here's where your temps are wrong. Here's where you should do this. Here's where you should have more of this, and all that. We can give our own input on how to take care of these animals, whether we've been doing it for years or a month, as some people tend to be on social media. But it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. You can give all that information, and that's great. I always encourage that. It kind of makes it a bit more personal, but it is also vitally, vitally, vitally important to send these people to reputable sources so that they can do the research they need to for themselves. It is important to send these people to reputable sources so that they can continue to do the research they need to for themselves. I felt the need to repeat that because, you know, these people have obviously done some sort of research to get to the messed up situation that they have right now with their animals, and obviously the resources that they used were not reputable. They didn't give them proper information. Maybe they watched the wrong videos, the wrong people, and they just didn't go to reputable sources. And it can be hard to maneuver a lot of those sites out there. So one of the things that we can do is not just give our account of how to take care of the animals, but to send them to multiple, not just one source, but to multiple different reputable sources that they can use to go look up information on that particular animal so that they can get reputable information about how to care for the animal, not just some off the whim person, not just a bunch of forums, but like a lot of reputable resources, forums, links to articles, links to reputable videos, because there's so many of them out there, and so many of them are wrong, but then there are also so many of them that are right. So send them to the right people, send them to the right resources, give them links to the best books to read, all of it. Not just give your account, but help them find reputable resources so that they can continue to do the research they need to for themselves. And I think that is the biggest thing that we can do for a lot of the people that are coming into this hobby, that are just flooding in, and a lot of them are making a lot of mistakes, and people are pointing them out, and calling them out and bashing them on social media. And there are a lot of people out there trying to help, but I think the biggest thing we can do is to provide them with resources to research things for themselves. So I'm not going to repeat it again. I'm pretty sure you got the point. Send them the resources, and don't bash them. Just continue to educate. I still stand by that. That was my very first video that I posted, was not bashing, just to educate, and just having more respect happening in our community, and so that people who are new coming in, who might just be observing in this community and seeing how we work with each other, aren't ran away. Because even if they do do all the research and they get an animal, like, what if they get a hiccup and something's wrong, and they're scared to reach out to the community, because what if they get bashed instead of educated? Even if they know they've done all the research, even though they know they didn't do an impulse buy, they researched first and then they got the animal, but then there's still something wrong. Like, how do you go to a community if they're going to rip you apart about it every time you do? So remember to educate, to not hate. You guys take care, love yourselves, love your loved ones, love your reptiles, and you guys keep spreading those herbs.